Ah, shark. I'm Nemo. Look at me. I'm Dory the Explorer Dorky. I don't know what that was. I get my moments. Sorry. So where did we leave off? We left off with rigging the shark. So we got the body, the root joint, we have the fin and the tail, and in this tutorial we're gonna add the head joints, the jaw joints, and this fin joint here, and we're going to talk a little bit about mirroring the joints over to the other fin. So that is what we're going to learn, and in the next tutorial we're going to look into very quickly how to add controllers, or probably how to name the joints. We have to name the joints. That is very important and can seem kind of boring, but it is important. So name your joints, and I'm not talking about naming them like, oh, this joint right here is called Mikey, and then this one is gonna be Joanna, and then this one's Coolio. Not legit names. We call them namespace. All right, the namespace is very important when it comes to giving your joints a name, because if you look here, it just says joint 1, joint 3. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. And we're still using our scripts. So if you go to animationmethods.com, you go to scripts, and we are using this joint orientation script, which is similar to orient joint, but I like to use a script. So let's open up that script. X, Y, Y. Okay, let's add the fin joints. So let's go to, we could add them in the side viewport if you wanted to. We would just create 2 joints here. Now some of the questions I get asked a lot is like, how many joints do we add? So for example, here we saw we have a couple of joints here. Someone said, why not add 6 joints or 10 joints here? You could add more joints. It just adds more work because you're gonna have to add a lot more controllers, and it depends how you want it to bend as well. So for example, if you look at an arm, you obviously have just on the main parts, the bicep and then the forearm, you have 2 joints. So you don't need any more joints. You could add a twist joint that gets more into depth, but we're not gonna go that far. So for this one, yes, we could add 1 joint like this and call it done and say, yeah, there's my little fin. But because we want more motion out of it, adding 2 joints would probably be better, because we can rotate it like that, and we can rotate this way, right? And we can flip it up and down if we wanted to. So that depends on the type of motion that you're trying to get out of it. So let's go ahead and do the X-ray, and I'm going to create the joints from the front viewport, because these joints are a little bit different. They're actually at an angle. So I'm going to go at this angle and just go straight down from about there, go midways of the flipper, and then go to the tip, hit enter. And first thing I like to do, go to that root, select hierarchy, show axis. You notice usually the tip is not oriented properly, but I like to use my script, hide axis, and minimize that. Now we can move this where we need them. So let's check this out. That's about where we want that joint, that first one there. And then we want to, now I don't want to point it straight down. I need to rotate this locally, because if you double click on the rotate tool, now yours might be over here, something like that. But I'm gonna tear that off by selecting on that dotted line. In case your manipulator, this rotate tool, doesn't look like that, maybe yours looks like this under world, you do not want to be under world. You want to make sure that we're rotating the joint by the actual orientation of the joint. That's why we do the orient joint script. So if you go under logo, notice how we can rotate this in the direction that we created that joint, right? So we want to be able to rotate like this. If we do world, we rotate it in weird ways that we don't want. So make sure you're under logo. That's very important. And then simply make sure you select that axis, the x-axis only. Don't grab it from the middle because that'll rotate in all kinds of ways. Not the blue one because that'll be up and down, and not X because that'll twist it. Only in the direction that we need to adjust. So somewhere about there, doesn't have to be perfect, just close enough. And then again, only from the Y. And there we go. Now I like to avoid going into pressing D, and coming in here and moving this stuff around like that. I'm gonna undo that, just because it makes it more difficult to adjust the orientation afterwards, since we already did it. Okay, so now once those are in place, we have rotations on the Y, which we don't want. Go to modify freeze transformation. That'll get rid of that. Since that was the last tool that we used, we can just press G to repeat that same tool. So now this root joint doesn't have orientation, this one doesn't matter, and we are done. Notice if we select that root joint, we can actually, you can swim around. Whew. Just keep swimming, just keep I don't know why I'm singing that stupid song. So now we need to attach this, and we also need to mirror this joint to the other side. So we'll look at the mirror joint tool in a bit. So you do not want to connect it there, because if we select this joint and the fish is swimming, it's gonna move that flipper, which doesn't make sense because this joint is behind on the tail. Things that are like from this joint is gonna move. Like, imagine I cut the shark like this. It's gonna move from here on back. I don't want to move things in front of it because it doesn't make sense. So Shift P to undo that. Right, so if I'm flipping around here, this controls from here onto the back, nothing from here to the front. So make sure the flipper is not connected there. So maybe to the root. That probably feels better because now I can rotate the back. The flipper doesn't move. I can grab it from here, and that would make more sense because everything from here on back moves together. Alright, so I'm going to show you the mirror tool right now. So I'm going to rename these, just that flipper, to show you how that mirror tool works. So I'm going to call this, keep in mind things that are on the left side, because let's say we're looking at the shark like this. This would be his left side, this would be the shark's right side. So I'm going to name this accordingly to the side that it's in. So left, always underscore. Okay, no spaces. You cannot use spaces, you have to use an underscore. And say flipper. You can use capital letters, joint underscore 01. So that's going to be the name for this flipper joint. I'm going to copy it, go to this other one, paste it, and say flipper 2. And then go to the tip one and say flipper 3. Okay, now let's look at the mirror joint tool. Go to, make sure you're under animation tab here. If you don't have this window or any window open here and you're missing stuff, make sure you go to display UI elements, and do either show all UI elements or restore UI elements. Alright, go to skeleton, mirror joint, and this option box. Okay, so first thing we need to look at, let me reset just so that we have the same setup here. It's going to tell you mirror across what axis. So first thing we do is we select the beginning joint of the entire flipper, and that automatically selects everything we need to mirror, so we don't have to worry about selecting each joint. Just select that first joint and that chain, and you notice everything that turns green is going to be flipped over to the other side. Don't worry about this middle joint. That middle joint will automatically get created once you mirror this over. Okay, so mirror across X, Y. What does that mean? How do we know what direction we're going to mirror from? So if you look down here, you should have this little thing open here. If not, you go to display, heads up display, and you go to view axis. That should be checked on, and you'll get this little view. So I'm going to show you what direction things get. Where is that cube? Let me show you how things get mirrored across. So this one is saying mirror across X and Y axis. If you look at the X is that red line, which is this one, right? So it's going to mirror across this way, and the Y. So the Y, if you look here, is up. So let's go in the up. So it's going to slice it like this. Like this. So this turns into like a wall, sort of. So if we were to select that joint and said, alright, mirror across the X and Y, apply, and if you look here, see how that mirrored it sort of across from this wall here? That's how it's going to do it. So it creates a wall and it says mirror to the other side. So that is not what we want. Select this one again using the axis here. Now if we do YZ, it's gonna go Y up and Z depth, so it's gonna slice it Y up, and then look here, don't rely on the gizmo here, rely on this one here. So Y and Z, like that. So it creates a line through here and it goes from this way to the other side. That is how we need this to be mirrored. Now, mirror function. Now you can just experiment with these, you know, it's something quick. Behavior. This mirror function behavior is something that you need to keep aware of. So when we're dealing with characters, you want to make sure you have it set to behavior, because what this does is it'll allow you to select the opposite joints and move them in the direction that they should be moving simultaneously. So notice that I selected both joints and I'm moving them, and they're moving together. They both move up and they both move down. If I undo this and I try now, select this one again and do the orientation instead and do mirror, now this is going to give me different results. It's going to move them in the same direction, not in the opposite way. So when I move one up, the other one moved up, which was sort of the opposite because they're being mirrored. This one, they're being rotated in the exact same direction. So this one moves right, this one moves right. I don't want that. I want the opposite action. So when this one moves right, I want this one to move left. So behavior is probably better when you're dealing with arms and things like that, legs. You know, if you want, imagine these were arms moving up and down, that's what you want. So that's behavior. One more thing, let me delete that. Replacement name for duplicated joints. It's going to say search for and replace with what. So if you look here at the names of these joints, so this is going to be important once you have named your joints. Here the thing that's the same with all these three joints is that it says left. And that's very important. You always want to name your joints with left or right. And then you want to replace it, because when these get mirrored, they're now going to be on the right side. And this automatically renames it for us. So that's pretty cool. So I'm going to say search for the word left in all these joints. And then when you find that word left, I want you to get rid of that and replace it with right. So now when I do mirror, check this out. If I select that one, look over here, it replaced that word left with right, and it still says flipper joint 1. This other one says right flipper joint 2 and right flipper joint 3. So that is how you use the mirror joint tool in Maya. It's very useful, very powerful, and very easy. But I just wanted to go over the basics because it covers a lot in that tool, and you're going to be using it very, very often when you're dealing with characters. So let's move along to the head area. Now, a lot of beginners are going to make this mistake. I did it when I was starting off. You're probably going to make it too. You're going to create a joint right here, and then you're going to say, okay, I have a joint there. I'm going to connect it here, and I'm going to say P, and there's a head, right? Well, let's try to move the head left and right. Now, I'm not going to move the head from here because nothing's in front of that joint. This is the head joint, which moves from here. So when I start moving the head joint, I rotate it, it's not moving the head, it's moving the entire body. So this is not what we want, right? So I'm going to select this joint and remove it by doing Shift P, and just delete the whole thing. Actually, go back to the side view, and let's think of another way. Let's say we have just a joint for the head. Let's try this out. So I'm gonna go, I can go about here in the front. So try to find where that head is going to be divided up. So about here, you know, maybe there, and then go to the tip again. So this is what I want. I want a separate joint for the head that's going to be able to move separately from this joint. Alright, so we're getting close. Alright, I can see this setup here happening, but now what do we do? Well, let's try to connect this to this, and we still get that free head joint movement. So this joint, we can move our shark, which is cool, but I can still rotate the head. Now you might be thinking, well, you know, if I move this, the head joint moves with it. Well, it's okay because I can still move the head independently and move it back. So that's cool. That's what we want. Separate head independence movement. Right? Something like that. I don't know. Can't find a better way to describe it besides separate independent head movement. So let's do the same thing for the jaw. You know, you might be thinking, alright, the jaw, I'm gonna make one here. I'm gonna shift select that, hit P, boom. Looks cool. Can I move the jaw by itself? Nope, that didn't work. Oh wow, not that. Just select that, delete. Let's try it again. Put a jawbone there, hit enter, select the jaw. Let's do it to the head. P, boom. That looks cool. Alright, let's open the jaw. Do I rotate from here? Okay, does that open the jaw though? This is moving the head. Imagine that the model of the shark, you know, we're moving the whole head up, but I'm not opening the jaw. How do I open the jaw from this joint too? You know, I'm controlling the jaw and the head. I can't select anything here and say, you know, moving it. Remember, you cannot move the tip joints. You do not move any joints besides the root joint. So doing this, you're not opening the jaw, you're stretching the joint. So this does not work. So let's delete this joint. Again, let's create a new joint. So we have to think, where is the beginning of the jaw? So for example, in humans, our jaw opens from our jaw hinge is located under our ear. So for a shark, you know, if you look at anatomy, I'm sure the bones come around like this, and there's like a little jaw joint, or the hinge is somewhere around here. But I'm gonna go and do it about here. Some of you might do it from over here and just open the entire thing. You know, you can work however you think it's appropriate for a shark, but that's something you're gonna have to experiment. I'm gonna do it from even way over here, see if that looks appropriate. So again, this is what we want. We want independent jaw motions here from the head. And thinking back, should I connect it to the root? Let's try that out. Hit P. Can I move the jaw? Yes, I can. Can I move the head? Yes, I can. But something's a little weird here. If I move the jaw, if I move the head up, the jaw is not moving with it, which doesn't make sense. Think about it. If you move your head up right now, does your mouth move with it? Yes, it does. Right now, our shark is not moving its jaw with its head. So we probably got this wrong. Shift P. How about let's connect this to the head joint, right? This is the head joint, and it's going over here. This is the root for the body, for everything. So it would make sense to connect the jaw. Shift select the head joint, hit P. It can get a bit tricky, but follow along. It's making sense. So this is my head joint. I can, watch this, move the head up, the jaw moves with it, and I can move the jaw open and close. So you can go nom 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 nom. He's looking up like Jaws, right? So that is what we want. So I have my shark. He's swimming, and then he sees something and he looks up, and then he's like, rah, I'm gonna rah. So you can see things are working fine now. And then I can grab this. You know, everything should be connected back to the root. So when my shark is swimming, that's how I'm gonna move it. Alright, so, and then again, you want to come in here, do the joint orient tool, set it up again, X, Y, Y. To select hierarchy, show axis, orient joint. Okay, that's good. And do the same thing for the head, because we didn't do it for the head. Orient joint, just fix that tip and hide everything, and close this, and I think we are pretty much done. Again, you want to go through each joint, make sure you have everything zeroed out in your channel box under rotate X, Y, and Z attributes. Alright, we can add a fin here very quickly. Let's go ahead and add a fin in the side viewport. So this one is going to be like from here, it's going to come out over here, and then it's going to go up this way, right? Let's go to the perspective viewport and check this out. So notice it's being created right in the center, and it's straight this way. So let's go ahead and grab this, move this over about there. Now I'm not gonna grab these and move them around like this, grab this or move it. I don't like to move joints because it tends to break the joint orientation. So I like to just grab these and rotate them, which makes things more easier. And then try to rotate everything by the root joint of that chain. So I'm going to rotate and just select certain axes. Don't grab this like this from the center. Just select certain axes and be careful about how things rotate. So I'm going to rotate this up slightly so that it matches that fin. And then once you get it aligned, all we need to do is just rotate this up like that. And let's check it out again. Does this line up fairly good? Now you can see this one is sticking out of the fin, so again I'm gonna rotate this in from the root and then rotate this back out. So rotating only from the root, and then once it's lined up, again check the axis. So this should be able to rotate like a little arm like that, and we're going to be able to rotate this like that, and this can rotate like that. So that's good. Again, which one are we going to connect this joint to? This one, which almost doesn't make sense because again, kind of like this fin here, anything from this joint and on back should be attached to here, but anything in front of it should not. So if I connect this to here, I'm going to be moving the tail from here on back, but this is going to be moving, which doesn't make sense because it's going to be going inside of itself. So I don't want to do that. I want to move it from here. So child, parent, from there, so that when I rotate this, everything behind it moves, and then when I get here, this doesn't move, only the tail behind it. And then again, let's go to the script joint, X, Y, Y, select hierarchy, show axis, orient joints. Looks like that screwed something up. Let's see what that screwed up. So I'm gonna undo that. Let's just do the tip, 'cause I think that's the only one that's screwed up. Everything else is fine. I don't know why it moved it. So again, just make sure it orients the correct one. So this should still rotate like that. Okay, so that's fine. Hide axis. Select that one, and we're gonna mirror. So go to skeleton, mirror joint tool. Now this doesn't matter because we haven't named our joints, so it's okay. We still want to mirror across the YZ and make sure it's behavior, so that when I do one thing, if I move these up, I want the other side to also move up. Hit apply. Automatically it gets connected to that same joint, and we are done. This is our shark rig. So in the next tutorial, we're going to look at how to, well, we still need to name our joints because that's going to be very important when we go into skinning. We need to know what joint is pertaining to what body part. So that's going to be very important. And then in the next one, we're going to add controllers before we actually skin the joints to the mesh. Alright, so you don't want to do that just yet. But again, check out the website. I got plenty of tips. If you guys want to learn how to rig a character, I have this book you can check out. Talks about a lot of the beginner stuff. If you want to rig your first character, you haven't rigged anything in your life besides rigging the shark, this can guide you. Now that you understand sort of the basics, this can help you out. Or if you're an animator, you want to go into the animation industry, again, I get asked a lot of questions on my Facebook, like how much money do you make, can you make a good living, all that sort of stuff. So I wrote this book not only to teach you how to animate and how to do facial stuff and moving characters around, but also to talk about the industry and what it's like, uh, what happens in a job interview, what type of questions do they ask you, you know, what do you put in a demo reel? That's the biggest question that I get. Do they test you out? You know, if you have all these questions and you want to be an animator, that's a book to check out. Again, scripts, rigs, this website is all for you. So check out everything. I got a lot of tutorials here for you, and I will catch you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe if you like what you saw. I will catch you later.